So, hello, Elif. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very good. It's good to catch hold of you. I know people get very busy when INSEAD starts, so I'm
Yeah.
so pleased that you were able to take out this time.
Yes, and thank you for wanting to do this. And I'm sorry it's taken a minute, as you're saying. INSEAD, it gets very crazy at the start, but in a very good way.
It was like yesterday, I remember the experience. So I have not forgotten this feeling of running, but also very excited, for all the opportunities it offers. So tell me about your first impressions of INSEAD.
First impressions, they say it themselves, but it's true. It's work hard, play hard. People are there to get to know each other, get to learn a bit more as well, get to learn from really impressive professors. Within these first 2 months, one of our professors even already won a Nobel Prize, the first of INSEAD. So that's very impressive also.
Mhm.
Um, but outside of that, the professors are really truly world class and world citizens, and we have 40 plus nationalities. That can create culture clashes because we're no longer all 15, 16, 18. People have settled a bit more into their persons, which means they're more convinced of their own cultures as well, but that's an interesting dynamic to navigate.
Yes, I think that is something INSEA does very well. It sort of sets you up to clash in the beginning. So then you kind of, it's learning by doing, right? So you try it out and then you kind of develop these skills. And that I think is really helpful, in the real world also, as you will no doubt, with your exciting career ahead, meet lots of interesting people and have a difference in opinion. Okay, so let me take you back a little bit. Let's start before this exciting place when you were thinking about applying to business school. What were your fears and concerns, at the time when before you had really started this journey?
Well, to start with, I think everyone has that you're not good enough, that you won't get in.
Hmm.
Um, But part of it is also going through the steps. It's starting on doing the GMAT, seeing where you are with that, benchmarking yourself with the expectations of universities in terms of grades you want to get. And I am a person who wants to go for it all and go for the best. So it's also figuring out what that meant for me in terms of which steps I needed to take, how my CV looked like at that point in time, what I needed to do to sharpen it, not just in terms of wording, but if there were any gaps I could fill through whatever means necessary. I think those steps really helped, and you helped me get there in terms of figuring out where the gaps were and all of that, and figure out how I fill those. And once I had the GMAT and I had the grade I needed, I was already feeling a lot more confident about the whole process. And then
Hmm.
we could just go for it.
Amazing. So thank you for leading me to my next question, which is how did you decide to work with an admissions consultant?
Well, part of it is insecurity, right? You're scared you won't get in. You need some guidance. You want some guidance. My little sister had worked with not with you, but with an admissions consultant also for her UK university applications for her bachelor's. And that was very successful. So
Mhm.
I had her blueprint, and my twin sister had also worked with an admissions consultant in getting into LBS. So
Mhm.
it seemed like the logical thing to do for me. And took away all of the guesswork for me in terms of, okay, if I do this, then at least I know I will have done everything I can in terms of who I am and how I am to be able to get in. If I don't get in, I won't be left second guessing.
Makes
And I
sense.
wasn't. And I wasn't.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Tell me this. I remember when we were working together, you had a lot on your plate. And I think this is a common feeling applicants have because they have a full life. And then somehow this application takes up more time than they anticipated. So, how did you kind of budget the time and plan the application around all your other commitments?
I prioritized it. It sounds so simple and so straightforward, but I didn't do very many fun things around the time I was applying. I love going to the ballet, didn't do that. Barely saw my grandparents, barely saw family and friends. Like I would squeeze it in only when possible, at the end of a weekday if we happened to be in the same city and location and it was convenient. And more often than not, I had to say no to things. But that's part of it. It's part of actually choosing to go for it. You can't do it halfway. That's my opinion.
That well explains your results, and we will come to that. But tell me, let's break it down. So, in terms of choosing your referees, who did you pick?
That kind of evolved over time for me, where I wanted a professor that was relatively recent as well as very relevant to what I was applying for. I ended up applying to master's in management programs, and I'm aiming for strategy consulting after my degree. So I did my major in strategy for my bachelor's in economics, and I decided to go and ask that professor for a reference. And I decided to ask one of my professional colleagues that I'd done a board year with, because that was my longest and most relevant work experience to that point. So I picked one person who is very relevant academically to what I wanted to do. And I also love participating, and it's part of who I am. And in academics, that's quite appreciated. So I made sure to do that quite a bit within his class also, but it wasn't fake. It was second nature to me, so it worked.
Mhm.
And I in Dutch unis, students don't like participating, so he really appreciated that. So that really worked out for me.
I think
Um,
INSEAD is really going to appreciate that about you, because you know how in INSEAD everybody's a participant and not a student. And that's specifically because they expect you to participate. I mean, they name you participant, so you know that that's a base case expectation. And so I'm sure you have no problem contributing to the class.
No, so that really worked. And then picking a colleague from my most relevant work experience that could really talk to who I am,
Mhm.
that I think was a smart move, and that worked.
Okay.
Uh,
And tell me about the daunting essay process. This is kind of the big part of the application. How did you approach that?
well, that's part of the answer I gave a bit back, where I said you choose to go for it. Yes, you choose to go for that as well, because making it bigger in your head doesn't really help. You put something on paper, your first draft is truly going to be horrible. That's okay. And then you go ahead and you figure it out. And if you think that you don't think it's working very well, you go back to the drawing board. And I don't just say this in relation to to my experience applying to business school, but just now I was on vacation with INSEAD friends. And one of my best friends at INSEAD was helping her little sister with her UCAS essay. And they've been working on this essay since like May, and it just wasn't working. So we sat down together, we wrote out bullet points and what do we want this essay to say, similar to what me and you did. And we figured it out. And it's okay to fully scrap it, start over, refigure it out. And I don't like that word daunting. Don't call it daunting. Just go for it.
I love it. I love your attitude, Elif. Tell me, in your interview process, what sort of questions did they ask you?
It's quite stressful preparing for interview, at least for me, because it's a good thing, but I was quite stressed during that time. The interview process, they honestly want to hear what the university stands for and how you match it. They don't want you to be a parrot and say what's on their website, obviously.
Mhm.
But as you were mentioning, INSEAD really likes participants. Makes so much sense for me to talk about participation. There are a lot about group work.
Mhm.
Talk about how you've done well in group work and how you navigate group work, what role you play and how that works. Just those types of questions. Look at the university that you're interviewing for and the type of person you're going to have in front of you. And the most useful advice I can give for an interview is take deep breaths, just 10, 20, 30 seconds before you start, and give yourself a pep talk. However little you believe it, do that. Start with a positive attitude, because that's what's going to matter. Because more than any of the answers you give, your interviewer is going to remember the vibe, the feeling you leave behind. And I can tell you about my INSEAD interview. I ended up talking with my interviewer for like 20, 30 minutes afterwards, just about her life, about the more winding paths she'd taken because she had a job in Singapore in PE, exactly what MBAs want. But it was during COVID and she couldn't get a work permit. So then she had to go and do it all over again. Even for someone who's successful interviewing you, life is a winding road, and having those conversations and understanding what they're about, I find that truly fun and interesting. So my interviews were very successful in that way. And another piece of advice that you actually gave me, Sedif, was have a couple questions prepared for them so you show interest, but actually be interested and ask more questions, and I don't know, have a conversation with them if you can at the end of it, if they're open enough.
I love it. The fact that you spoke to her for so long afterwards shows that, she could already see you as a colleague and she was talking to you like a peer. And it was no longer will she not accept me? It was a
Well,
conversation
she did.
of
She said that she had no doubt I'd fit in well at INSEAD. So that gave me a confidence boost,
excellent.
definitely.
Excellent, excellent. That is what we want to hear. That is a good interview when you leave feeling like, you're not worried about it. You know you did well. And it's a human to human interaction, right? So you can very often tell because of that. Okay, so tell me then, now that you know INSEAD more than you did before you started, what can you tell applicants specifically applying to INSEAD about what is unique about INSEAD versus other business schools? Because before they all sound very similar and exciting and great, but what is really the DNA of INSEAD that you think you wouldn't be able to know from the website?
They say it themselves. They're a global business school, but what that truly means is different than just a buzzword or we have X amount of nationalities. It's truly that my twin sister did LBS, right? Her network is very London based. If you want to go into finance, if you want that, that's great. INSEAD is also great for finance in terms of the alumni network it has and obviously consulting. But what's truly impressive about INSEAD is with the MBAs, the MIMs, the people who come in and their alumni, they truly go and work all over the world. It is a global network in that not just their perspectives, their references, the conversations you end up having, the point of view you gain from studying at INSEAD is truly different to a purely Western centric business school, which most of them are, unless you go and study in the East, and then that has a very Eastern centric point of view. So it's unique in that.
I love it. And I wanted to ask you about your multiple offers. Obviously, this is the first world problem every business school applicant hopes for. So I think you applied to two places and you got both, and then you didn't need to apply to anything else. We were like, okay, how do we choose between these two? What the difficult conundrum you were in. To walk me about that. I mean, how did you
Well,
make
yeah,
the decision?
it's such a difficult conundrum. Looking back, is that a problem? No. Um, I also applied to London Business School, the Global MIM program. I got in there as well. And then for me, it was multiple things. It was, do I want to study for 2 years, 1 year at Fudan University, which you'd get a double master's, an international master in management from LBS, and an international master in something from Fudan. Really bad that I don't even know anymore what that second one is.
This is
But
what happens when you start business school. Your brain is sort of like exploding with so many new ideas. You're like, I have to focus in on the new experiences.
yeah, and for me, it was a bit of a lot of things where my twin sister had done LBS. I wanted a different experience. INSEAD was at the end of the day the choice that matched best with what I wanted. It's still a global program. We still get to go to Singapore for 4 months within the program, which is part of the reason I applied to the two programs I did. And
Mhm.
I'm very happy with the choice I've made. And LBS would have been a great choice also. And a year in Shanghai at Fudan would also have been amazing. I'm truly convinced of that. I'm just very happy with the choice I've made.
Great. So tell me now, what advice would you have to applicants who are right now in the process of applying to business school? What would you say to them?
Take a deep breath to start. It's not as crazy or daunting as it might seem at the start. And that feels banal to say because, yes, at the start, you're going to be stressed. That's a part of it. Take a deep breath, make an active choice, like I said, to go for it because it is a mentality thing. Yes, it's hard. One of my really good friends told me this a couple months ago. Yes, it's hard, but we can do hard things. So go and do the hard thing. It's not that hard. A lot of people do it. Go prepare well for your GMAT. Go take some time for your essays. Make sure you get help if you feel like you need it in terms of even just the mental strain of it, because that's what I did.
Mhm.
I needed some level of security in the application process. So I went and I looked for someone, I found stuff, and I'm very happy that I did. If you feel like you can figure it out for yourself, all good also, but figure out what works for you and go do it and make sure that the process can be a positive one as a result, even though it's a lot of work.
That is such good advice, Elif. Thank you. Because I think this is the thing, in life, sometimes we're like, especially capable people who end up in places like INSEAD, like you think you can do it yourself, like I'll just do it. But actually, we have personal trainers to help us train, and we have nutritionists, and we have all sorts of advisors to just get there in a more smoother way, right? It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be as daunting as you said, and I love that approach to life. But there is so much that we want to do, and so little time it feels. But thank you for taking out the time to share with us, and it is so exciting this stage in your life you're at. I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait to follow your story and to see where you end up. So yes, definitely keep in touch. And thank you for sharing, all your learnings that are so fresh in your mind right now.
Thank you. Thank you for all your time and effort.